Yay, I'm live. Hi, it's Erin here. Um, Most of you probably know me, but there might be some new people here. Uh, I am a retreat leader, coach, healer, uh, just to name a few things. But really, how do we identify ourselves anyway? Like, that's a whole topic in and of itself. Um, just the identities that we take on and what those do for us or don't do. But that's not why I came on here today. It's just, I always feel weird when I have to say what I am and what I do. I just think it's kind of a bizarre thing. Let's get a little essential oil going, a little frankincense. Um, I wanted to come on, one, because it's been a really long time since I've been here, and just kind of share like where life is at lately. And you'll probably be seeing more of me now that things in my life are starting to, I don't know, come together in different ways, and I have some time to focus on showing up and sharing and giving, which is so important for me. That's why I'm here, right? It's to share, to yeah. So I'm getting back into the book, and I wrote a little bit today because you have to ease yourself back into these projects. This has been an ongoing project. If you don't know about me, I've been writing a book for literally years, and I have a ton of content. And now it. I even hired someone to help me organize it, and now it's just about me kind of going in and filling in the gaps. And of course, me filling in the gaps looks like me writing more content. So I may be writing, very well, maybe writing two books, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, there will be a book that comes out this year. That's a goal anyway. I hold that loosely because I've said that so many times, and it just hasn't really been ready. But again, that's also not what I'm talking about. But when you haven't been on here for a while, you have to kind of catch people up. Um, so yeah, I want to share something that's pretty near and dear to me, and something that's vulnerable, and something that I feel like so many people can relate to and struggle with, maybe even unconsciously, because it's so interwoven within us, and it's such a coping mechanism that we create, and that is like escaping feeling our feelings. Now, this is coming from somebody who teaches people to feel their feelings. Like I'm like the cheerleader, like go feel your feelings. And yet and there's this saying in my world that you teach what you're learning. So maybe I'll always be teaching people about feelings because I'm always going to be learning about feelings because they were so pushed out of my zone of consciousness. Because in order for me to cope, in order for me to survive as a child, I had to ignore those things. And so it became a coping mechanism. And then not feeling became a coping mechanism. But then on top of that, it became this thing of staying really busy to avoid. And then that becomes a coping mechanism. And that's the one I'm talking about, that like 90% of people I work with, maybe even 95% of the people, probably the people I work with, it's 100%, but the people I see in the world, we've developed these ways to be busy. And let me tell you that the world wants you to be busy and not thinking and not feeling, because then you're not really in your power, and then you're easier to control. also. So our modern world is just set up to just really support us in not feeling with scrolling on social media, all the tasks you have to do, just all the, I was thinking about this weekend, like all the complexities of life. Like there's so many different aspects and complexities of life. You know, you've got your own stuff, but then if you have a spouse or a partner, then they've got stuff that they're dealing with. They've got ups and downs. If you have children, you have their stuff. If you have family members that you're close to, you have their stuff. And you have your, if you're a business owner, you've got your business. If you are a 9 to 5 employee, you've got your boss and other employee and coworkers. And that's just like skimming the surface. And you've got, you know, we all, I don't have to tell you guys this. You all know about all the things that you have on your plate. But I don't think we often like stop and think about that. And that's kind of what I did this weekend. It was just like, you know, moving to Florida has opened up so many things, I think energetically and physically for me. I haven't quite gotten out there to even share my services with anybody here, which feels a little weird because I went to Dubuque, Iowa, literally to start sharing. Like that's like literally drove there and I think I had to teach a class like a day or two after I arrived. So it's been a little different here. Um, but I also have a lot of things on my plate. And again, it's just managing all those things and feeling into all these complexities of uprooting myself and pulling, like, you know, think about like a tree with all of its roots and pulling all those roots out, and like that tree is going to be displaced for a while even if you put it in a new pot. It's going to take a while for those roots to kind of reroot themselves. That was just an idea I had just now, looking out at a big tree out in front of me. So that's just kind of, it's been like there's been layers to this. It's been a healing process in and of itself. And the reason I bring that up is because there's been so many things I've had going on since I've been here, like settling in, learning where things are, not knowing where the groceries, you know, just having to relearn everything, which is so good for your brain. Not saying you need to uproot yourself and move to the other side of the country, but doing things in a different way is so good for your brain to get off autopilot. And having all that going on, and then, you know, it's like we got here and it's like really since like last year at this time, I've been going for a full year with like these major life things. I think it was in March. My adopted brother, half brother, my real half brother who was adopted, reached out to me and I met him. And I was in the middle of 2 yoga teacher trainings, and then I got engaged, and then we were getting our house ready to sell, and then we thought we sold it, but we didn't. And then kind of like that last hurrah, you know, but there was the stress of like, is this actually going to go through after it not going through the first time? And then I had an Italy trip in there, and then we had to pack up and like sell all of our stuff. And it was like, it was full on for months. And then we got here and it was full on unpacking and organizing. And then there was this huge decompression where I literally, my body just said, we're done. And I really didn't do much for a month, like at all. And then we went on a vacation just to Daytona, Florida, that was already planned. And it's like I got my energy back after that. came back and I was ready to start working and rolling again. And then I had to leave for Thailand. And now I've been back and really creating this foundation in my business and in my life that has felt really nervous system grounding and so good, like systems in place, like going through every inch of the back end of my business, which I cannot even believe I did that because I'm such a creative individual, like to dig and be that in all of those systemy things. I did get some creativity in writing my website, but and that was like the last 3 or 4 weeks. And in that time, I realized I was having vertigo issues. I went to an upper cervical spine specialist here in Florida that told me that I had one of the worst cases of rotation in my cervical spine that he's seen. That was due to some falls when I was 21. Anyway, I'm rambling here and I'm sharing all of this because one, I just want you to know my life right now. um, we don't stop and think, holy shit, I just did a bunch of things. And I'm saying all of this to you guys, and maybe you're like, I had 3 major life transitions in there. Meeting a long lost brother, getting engaged, moving across the country, selling a house, 4 if you count selling a house and moving across the country. And that was my first time selling a house, so it always feels terrible the first time. I'm sure, hopefully it gets easier. Hopefully I don't have to do it again. But, and then just adjusting to life here. And what I realized is that grief comes in many forms. I'm going to get back to my original point. There's a purpose in me telling you all of this. It's not for me to compare my busyness with your busyness. It's for you to see where maybe you aren't aware of all the things you have going on, of all the complexities of your life, because this is what we do. Remember, it's a coping mechanism. I don't have time to feel because I've got too much to do. And if we continue that way, eventually the body kind of wipes us out because we can't just not feel the feelings. And so when I was in Thailand, I was talking to a friend there, and she talked to me about grief and about how grief, she goes, you're probably grieving, moving away from Dubuque and leaving familiarity and friends and family and all of that. And it's like this was in January, I hadn't even given myself a moment to think about that. Like, oh yeah, I probably am feeling some grief. And then this morning I woke up and I was like kind of sad because I have dear friends that live in Decorah, Iowa, that I would often, a few times a year go visit. And it just feels like one of those times where I would have hopped in my car, drove 2 hours, and been in Decorah, another very known place. Like, I know my way around. I know the good restaurants. I know the good coffee shops. I've got good people there. And sorry, I'm shedding like crazy right now. So it's just, I woke up with that, like, oh, I can't go do that. Although I do have friends here that I'm going to go see this weekend who are from Dubuque. So it's kind of funny. But that it's just that kind of realization. And I have been waking up for several days around 4 a.m. And on the Chinese meridian clock, 4 a.m. is the lung meridian time. And our lungs hold grief. So I sat with the grief today and I was just like, I'm feeling this. And then my brain goes, okay, now what do I do with it? Because that's maybe a little bit of another coping mechanism, right? The fact that I need to do something with the feeling. First, step 1 is we don't want to feel the thing at all, so we stay really busy so we don't have to feel it. But then when we give ourselves a chance to feel it, I'm speaking for myself here, but then when I give myself a chance to feel it, it's like, okay, I felt it, now what? Now what am I supposed to do with this? As if I'm gonna like put it in a box and like put it on a shelf and like it's done or check it off a list. Felt some grief today. And when I talked to my dear friend Patricia, who's also a fabulous healer, it's like she said that the grief that you feel about something now is often connected to something in your past. And that if we're just focused on the now grief, we kind of sidestep the grief from the past. And the level that it feels intense now often is connected to the level of intensity you have felt that grief from the past. And my grief doesn't feel very intense. In fact, I didn't even know it was a thing till I've like thought about, okay, I should probably, sit with my emotions today because there's a lot going on. So when I did that, and when I sat with, well, what might this be connected to from my past? The very first thing that popped up was this feeling of just being unloved by my mom. Just not being unloved. I know without a shadow of a doubt she loved me. But so I worded that incorrectly. The thing that popped up was growing up with an unloving mother because she just didn't really know how to love. I knew she loved me especially when I got older. Maybe when I was younger, I didn't have that frame of reference, but as I got older, I knew that she loved me, even if she couldn't say it. I could tell that she did. But was a laundry list of other things she would do, actions she would take, things she would say, feelings I would feel from her, like feeling like she was jealous of me, just feeling very controlled and kind of like minimized often. Needs were never validated. It was like I just kind of needed to exist in her world, so to speak. And so I just wanted to touch on that today, kind of going down some mini paths here today. And again, I have a hair that's itchy me. Anytime I wash my hair, it's like I don't wash my hair every day. I shed way more than when I don't wash my hair. Letting you guys in on all my secrets today. So it's that the pain of feeling like you weren't loved and cared for. I had a therapist once, the very first therapist I hired when my grandma had to go to a nursing home because of her dementia. That was a very, very tough time for me, and the grief was palpable. Just I couldn't stop crying. When they had to pack up my grandma's house and get it ready to sell, like I couldn't even be there. I just knew I couldn't handle it. And I'm kind of I'm going down so many paths today. So I hired a therapist because I was like, there's stuff here that needs to be handled and dealt with, And I remember talking to her about grief, and I was just like, do you ever stop feeling this pain, this grief of not having a loving mom? Like, does that ever go away? Because, like, I don't want to feel this. This is not fun. This is not how I want to have my experience. And she likened it, God forbid, to a mother that loses a child. That pain never goes away. There's good days, there's bad days. But that pain doesn't go away. It's there. And to just walk around and pretend you're happy all the time, like a lot of spiritual bypassing and positive talk tells us to do, is missing the point. Like, it's not to say we need to be in these like torrentially dark places all the time. And I need to sit here and feel how terrible it is to have drawn the unlucky card of an unloving mother. But it is to say that, like, when something comes up, like what I always say, it's like, well, what's there and how am I responding to it? Am I running from it? Am I just ignoring it? Am I pretending it's not there? Am I staying really busy so I don't have to think about it or feel it? Those tactics don't work. So we don't have to like live in this dark torrential place, and we can't ignore stuff that comes up because it will continue until it gets the light of day shown upon it. So, and I work with a lot of people that are like, I think when we go through really tough times and we feel a lot of emotional pain, we start comparing. So we have a good day, we're like, "Oh, I'm feeling so much better today. Like I'm in such a better place." I have had a client who had a lot of depression, and when we were working together, it was like I think she would even number, I think I'm getting this client correct. She would number her days. Like today's like a 5 day, but I had like an 8 day last week, and then I had a 2 day, and I think that's such an important point to make, because when we get in that comparative mindset, even with we're comparing days, that's just not fair. Because what if that pain never fully goes away? And that's something I think a lot of people just they cannot accept. They cannot accept that. But in a way, it kind of becomes a part of you, but you don't have to, it doesn't have to be you. I don't have to be the pain every day of growing up in a trauma filled home with a narcissist. I don't have to be that. But there's gonna be days that could be a bit hard for me because of that, but not every day. And what if the days that are hard are just showing me, it's like I try to just look at it like this: instead of comparing like a 10 to a 1, I just say, my body just needs extra rest today. For whatever reason, maybe I'm ignoring a feeling. I'm a little bit tired. So, like earlier, I was laying in bed because I still kind of have a little bit of a headache. And I just was like, well, my body just needs, excuse me, clearing energy maybe. I really just focus it on, I think of it like that. I think of it like, my body feels a little bit tired today. What can I do to help it? Do I need to rest? Do I need to do some energy healing? You know, or do I just need to lay in bed for a little bit? Do I need to go on a walk? Do I need to just have a cry? When was the last time I sat with my emotions? Is there some grief there? You see what I mean? So it's like, and then to Patricia's point and to the point I talked about, there's nothing to do with it. We've got to stop thinking that there's something I have to do about this grief. What if there's nothing to do about it? What if it's just simply there? It just wants some attention today. But tomorrow might be way easier. there's a real fine line to a lot of things in self-help and spirituality. And this is one of them because I can hear part of my brain saying, but we've got to like, we've got to like stay on that positive road. Like, what is it that you want? And how do you want to feel? And you gotta be in that vibration. Yes. This is the fine line. Yes. And circling the and, if something's coming up, I don't really need to go looking for it necessarily. But if something's coming up, something's triggered me in some way. If it's something's triggered me, boom, I need to go deal with that. I need to look at that. I need to understand what is going on there. If I'm just feeling tired or I've just had a major life change happen and I feel like I've been on autopilot for a little bit, like work, 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 or busying myself with things, I might need to churn it up a little bit and just see, am I feeling everything? Like take a feeling pause and check in with yourself. Am I feeling today? Or am I ignoring something? So that's what I want to leave you with. This video is already getting long. But I want to leave you with that. I think that's, if there is such a method, I think that's the method, is to ask yourself, have I felt lately? Have I, or have I just been kind of on autopilot, not feeling? And I know that that's a coping mechanism of mine. So I'm just going to take a little bit of extra time this morning and check in and see and make sure that I'm feeling things. And maybe writing out everything that you have going on in your life right now. Because again, we don't often take into consideration the many brackets of complexities of life, including other people that are close to us and their stuff. Not that that becomes our stuff, because we got to be careful of that as people pleasers and empaths, but we still have to, in a way, manage it because we may live with these people and they're going through things. And then that kind of brings these waves to the relationship. So maybe writing out the different things you have going on in your life. I'm definitely doing some energy clearing, probably of my own, because like as I'm speaking, the headache's going away. Writing out the different complexities of your life, if that resonates for you, but more importantly, to ask yourself weekly. Maybe you just put a little note in your phone or whatever calendar system you use, like Sunday morning. Just a little note that says, what am I feeling? Or you can make it a daily reminder, like, what am I feeling? I met a woman once at a networking group that she suggested that, like 3 times a day, to stop and ask yourself. I think hers was, what am I needing? Or maybe it was feeling. No, it was feeling. What am I feeling right now? And to choose from a list of feelings and then to just sit with that for a moment and then move on. Again, this doesn't have to be this deep dark hole that we go into. And I think I was very, not I think, I know I was very afraid of that for a while. Even recently, I realized that was still playing out in my life, that if I really let myself feel, I might go into a deep dark depression. And I think that is so real for so many people. And you have to find your own way with your feelings. I can't tell you, that's not going to happen to you. I don't know. That may be something that you want some extra support with. Right? And I do work one-on-one with people. I have a 3-month program to help you, support you in feeling those things, where like maybe you only feel those things when the two of us are working together, right? Like that's the time you're delegating to going into those deeper recesses of your mind and body to feel those things when you have a support system with you or a therapist or whatever, a different healer. But in my case, it's not, I don't need to be worried about going into this deep, dark depression because I have resources, I have support. Last thing I want to say is like when you're somebody that has had some trauma, especially childhood trauma, but any kind of emotional or mental trauma that has happened to you, or I mean physical too, but like the baggage the emotional baggage we carry after an event or after growing up with somebody who didn't know how to love. The hard part about that, I mean, one of the many hard parts about that is that you look normal, right? I don't have broken legs. I'm not in casts or a wheelchair or unable to walk. I look healthy. I look normal. And so people just assume that we're always good. And so that's where like really communicating with your loved ones comes in. Because I know when William and I, earlier in our relationship, but sometimes we have to remind each other, it's like the people pleaser in me thought I had to be on all the time. And there were days when he would be like, I'd be like, why are you, ignoring me? And he's like, well, you're giving off vibes like you need space. And I'm like, well, talk to me about it. Don't just like assume that I need space. And I was like, I don't need space. I want somebody to be here. I want you to be here. And he's like, well, you just don't seem like you're in a great mood. And I'm like, I remember having this conversation early on. Like, I can't always be on. Like, I'm not always on. I know that I'm one of those people that I can be very on and very funny and like lively. And then sometimes I am just quiet or I need a lot of extra sleep and rest or I need to just be alone. Like right now, ever since I got back from Thailand, William's been working from home, and that's been another huge change because I'm used to having a lot of alone time. And we're working it out. Like I close my door, I have my space. But it's just these changes. So we need to be able to communicate our needs to the people around us and really let that people pleaser go because she's not serving. She is not serving. So that when you need some time, like and if your partner's like, well, we've been working all day and I want to see you, it's like, tell them, give me like an hour. I just need to decompress. Or maybe it's just one night. Like, I just need tonight to just kind of be alone. I just have a lot going on. And, thankfully, William's really understanding because he's kind of like me. He needs a lot of his own time too. So he gets it. We don't ever have an issue with that. But it still takes communication, right? But some people in your life might really not get that and might be kind of pushy. And that's where you're going to be challenged in your boundary setting and in stepping into your power. Being able to say, like, I'm sorry. So this was just kind of a long live to share a lot of different things. But I hope it was helpful. Leave comments below what resonated for you. It's important that you feel those feelings. Don't ignore. Give yourself time and space to do that. And, be with whatever is coming up for you. Last thing I'm going to say is I have a new program. It's coming out. This is the first time I'm sharing about it. And none of it's even ready to go yet. It's been in the works for a bit of time, and it's going to be a bit deeper. It's going to be some deeper work. For those of you that feel like you've tried a lot of different things, read a lot of books, but maybe you know a lot of this stuff, but you're still feeling stuck in some area of life, this is the program for you, because we are going to go deeper quicker. Maybe about shadow work and inner child healing. I mean, you've done it till the cows come home, but there's still some places in life that just feel clunky and aren't manifesting the way that you want, aren't showing up the way that you want. So if you're interested, even though you have no idea what this is, it's going to be a live group coaching and healing program. I'm probably going to be bringing in at least one person is coming to mind to help with this, to do some additional teaching, and at least to take you through a process that's pretty deep. This year of the dragon that we're in, it's really about, it always seems like that. Like it's always about what are you ready to release? This year, it's really about what's not aligned for you. What is showing up for you that's not aligned? Like this thing for me, where it's like, oh, I'm not really feeling grief. What's showing up for you that isn't aligned? And because what's coming after, it's like we have to go out of the year we have to go out of the year of the dragon without these many different things that aren't you, that aren't who you truly are. So that's kind of where this is coming from. I feel the power of this year very deeply. The things that are coming up for me in particular this year to be healed seem like deeper, more like elevated wounds. Like there's more consciousness to them now, and yet they're still there. And again, as we said in the very beginning, this might not go away, but we have to manage, heal, and deal with it, right? We can't ignore it. Ignoring it is no longer an option. All right, so comment below if you want the information on that when it comes out. I'll be sure to give it to you. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for being here. I hope to see you soon.